with the one and
Welcome to Paradelphia. This is Rick Pruitt coming to you live from week 7 of the never-ending quarantine. I'm here at my home, and I am joined by, as you can see, Toxic Mike. They're in the Toxic Studios.
My green screen is doing something weird to my teeth.
Your teeth are part of the green screen now.
Does that mean my teeth are fucking green?
You look like that. You look like that dirty rapper. What's his name?
Tekashi 6ix9ine. Which one are you talking about?
No, Malone.
I'll take it.
Post Malone.
Post Malone. That guy looks horrible.
The guy who doesn't bathe.
But people literally, girls swoon over them.
Oh, I know.
Oh my
can't explain
God.
that.
I can't explain it. And I always talk to the girls, my girls that are friends that are all about him, and I send them the most horrible pictures of him, and they're like, that's a bad representation of him. And I'm like, that's him.
Yeah, that's really just him.
Yes.
At least you can't smell a picture, you know?
Oh my God. Smell it. Remember that back in the day? Jesus Christ.
Scratch and sniff.
Smell-o-vision, scratch and sniff.
Smell-o-vision.
Smell-o-vision. They talked about that forever.
Yeah.
Do they do scratch and sniff anymore? I guess with candles and stuff like that.
Yeah. I was back in the day, I was at a place in Baltimore Harbor. This is when I was like 15. And there was a place down there called, I think it was called The Factory or something like that. It was sort of a cross between Edmund Scientific and Franklin Institute.
Right.
And it was all about like, it was almost like steampunk stuff, like industrial stuff. And they had this one movie screen, which was like this interactive room. You could go in and sit and watch a movie. And it was the chairs would move. The smells of what was on the screen would be wafting through the theater. It was pretty cool. It was like an all sensory.
Really?
Yeah. It was.
That sounds like something that would be at Disney World.
Well, yeah. It was like pre-Disney. Yeah.
How old are you again?
508.
That's the rub with all this. Rick has been around for hundreds of years. You just didn't know it.
I'm like Lestat the vampire.
I don't even know who that is. Jesus Christ, dude. You're not that much older than me.
What was that called? Damn, that book.
Oh, that's right. You read. You're one of those readers.
It was a movie, too. Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt. I don't know. One of the people in the chat room will know. Interview with a Vampire.
Oh, who watches that? That's a girl's movie.
It was all right. I watched it a while back.
Hey, Jay. Hey, Laura. Hey, everybody else that's joining the chat room. Go ahead and remember to like and share the post and join in the comments. We'll be able to post your comments up in the live feed of the show. And this is going out to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So hello, all of you social media people. And
hello to the interwebs.
And if you have all of those accounts, go ahead and share to all of those media outlets. Let people know that we're here.
Absolutely.
So
tonight, I came up with a topic that's going to be kind of sort of topical.
Okay.
As you guys probably have heard a billion times over the last, it's honestly only been over the last maybe 5-6 years. The first week of May has a day that has been dubbed as Star Wars Day.
Oh, I thought you were going to go with Justin Timberlake's.
No,
it's gonna be May.
Not that dumb.
Not that one. Not that one.
But the Star Wars Day thing.
What's up, Supreme?
4th,
May the 4th be with you.
Yeah. So I thought, well, let's play off of that. And one of the interesting things I've read over the years about the Star Wars movies was the fact that when George Lucas wrote those movies, he was writing them back at a time when he was very much involved in. He was living in San Francisco, and he was very much involved in the hippie movement back in the early to mid 70s.
Okay.
And part of that movement, part of that whole lifestyle, was just having this idea of energy and how you exude energy and you absorb energy, and the fact that you can change the world around you based on the energy you give off.
Mhm.
And that's what started the whole idea of the Force in the Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
So what I was going to do tonight was talk a little bit about the origins of that, as far as the beginnings of the movie version of that. But there's also been a lot of talk about how that might not just be fiction.
Right.
That might actually be something. And we've talked about this on the show. We haven't really talked about it in terms of Star Wars and the Force, but we've talked about the way you can actually change your environment around you based on your thoughts, your actions, and the energy you give off. And that's really all it is. It's really what the Force is, so to speak.
Yeah, and I've said before how, that is one thing I could totally buy into, is people's energy. And somebody walks into a room, or you could walk into your room yourself and just feel the energy that comes off of people, whether it be good, bad, indifferent, just whatever it is. You could definitely feel that.
Right. So that's going to be our general topic going into the show here. We're going to be joined shortly, probably after the first break, by Jenna B. She is a little late coming home. I think she was walking her Mugwai dog or something.
That little Mugwai. And she didn't even know what a Mugwai was last week. God,
I wonder if she watched Gremlins by now.
She didn't. She's quarantined. She's not watching. She's waiting to go to the beach.
Yeah, we got to bring back the thing that we did prior to the quarantine with Jen watching the movie. Remember, you gave her the Troma movies?
Jen, I gave her. Well, the last one I gave her, which we never got her to review, it was Jenna B reviews B horror movies. I forget how we said it.
Jenna's Bees.
Jenna's Bees.
Yeah.
And I gave her Troma's Jesus Christ, it just I had it. Tromeo and Juliet, which is one of my absolute favorites. Tromeo and Juliet. Literally, if you're anybody out there that likes B horror, and it has to be B horror, because this is the epitome of B horror.
Not A horror.
They definitely have sex with pickles in this movie. That is a thing. Ron Jeremy is in it, so you better be prepared for that.
Wow.
Yeah, but it is based around the Romeo and Juliet story, but it's Tromeo and Juliet, and it's definitely a good watch if you're into that. And I would have loved to have heard Jenna's take on it, but yeah, we should definitely bring that back, because she's got more time to watch these movies.
Absolutely. Well, she still has the movie. She has that DVD that you gave her, right?
Yeah, I gave her the the DVD.
Yeah,
the kids. Now I get that. Now my generation gets to look at kids and go, yeah, the DVD. Like the older generation used to go 8-track. Yes, it was a thing.
I saw a meme the other day talking about Generation X, which is my generation, being the only generation that actually knows how to set the timer on a VCR.
Do you though?
Our parents couldn't do it, and I don't think anybody younger than us can do it. Huh? Do I know? Yeah, it's been a long time, but I was able to figure that out.
I was never over anybody's house who had their VCR time set. It was always blinking. Nah,
you just set the time.
Nobody
that way you get
that.
That way you get the right time. I don't know. You want to record those movies on time?
Oh, if you no. You were in the sophisticated household that knew how to set it and to set it to start at a certain time. Laserdisc, I only remember from school.
Mm-hmm.
When we'd go to watch a movie, they'd come out with the giant Laserdisc.
Right.
The other thing I remember from Laserdisc was with Roger Rabbit. There was this myth that at one point you could, because with Laserdisc you freeze frame. It was the first time.
I know where you're going with this, but go ahead. Yeah.
There was a point where if you froze it at a certain timestamp, you got to see Jessica Rabbit with her skirt up, with her dress up. And I remember back in the day it was probably AOL, America Online dial up, trying to find the scanned pictures of the Laserdisk. I wasn't gonna go buy a Laserdisc player. I was a kid.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be online now? You figure if you pulled up like a Google image or something.
I have not looked this up in a while, but you know what, Rick? Let's look this up.
It's really not what the show's about, but what the hell, right?
It isn't what this. You know what? We started off with some random stuff. We'll get back to the main topip.
Yeah,
I know you guys are here for some.
It's a winding road. Every week, it's a winding road on the show.
It is a winding road. Updress, I guess. Is that how you do
Updress.
it? It's going to give me some weird. I'm trying to figure out how to use Google.
This is a low point for the show. Mike's literally trying to Google an updress of a cartoon character.
Is it a low point? I think there's been other low points. So I found one, and I believe this isn't the one I remember.
The one you remember?
I remember I looked this up a long time ago, but I'll go for this one. Maybe this was it. This is not. It must have been false then, because this is what. Wait, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah.
I'm getting that or this. It must have been.
Can't even see that one.
Maybe I'm bringing it up large. Oh, this is a very good picture. It's even taking time like AOL Messenger used to.
Yeah.
That can't be what I was excited about.
And you have to know that the editor knew that was in there. The film editor. He knew.
Right, but I remember it as a kid not being underwear though. Maybe that was.
That was just your imagination, Mike.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. As a kid, maybe that was way more exciting than anything else I'd seen at that point.
That was Mike's first porn, Jessica Rabbit.
But you got to remember, something like that and how I remember it, how long ago was that, bringing it back to the show's kind of topic, how long ago was that image of Bigfoot that they found when he was like in mid-walk, which they debunked a time afterwards? How long ago was the one? Which one was the one where he's like, yeah, the one in the woods? It's a blurry picture of him.
That wasn't debunked.
I thought that was debunked.
No. That's if anything, that's been proven to be more authentic than anything. They can't debunk that. But that was done in 1967, I want to say.
I could have sworn. Here we go. I found it, and of course, that's.
There's people that have claimed it's been debunked, but the truth of the matter, that's the one. But the truth of the matter is they've looked at that a million different ways in terms of the way that the hair and the muscles move and everything. And they said if that is a person in a suit, they did some kind of a job that was like decades beyond what was available back in the 60s.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do the research right now because nobody wants to watch us do research. But I 100% thought that was debunked.
If you guys want to hear a good, I always love to give shout outs to shows that are, same paranormal type of shows, but I think they're quality shows. I think I've mentioned this before. There's a podcast called Astonishing Legends. They're out of, one guy's out of California. The other one's out of, I think it's North Carolina. They do, if you like, we kind of just brush by topics on this show. These guys do deep dives into these topics. Like sometimes they'll spend 4 or 5 episodes on a show, or on a topic. And they did a series on that Patterson Gimlin film, the one you're talking about. It was I think it was at least 3 episodes, and they got way deep. They talked to people, they talked to experts in the field, they talked to costuming experts, they talked like everybody they could get a hold of. And that was not by any means debunked. If anything, it goes the other way.
So Jen just brought up Loch Ness. Was that ever debunked? I thought that one was.
It depends on which one. The original, the one they call the surgeon's photo, the one from the 20s.
This one.
Yeah, that was debunked. That photo was debunked.
That photo was debunked.
Yeah, the whole idea was not debunked, but that photo was, yeah.
How is an idea not debunked, but the photo is debunked?
Because there's still other people that claim to have seen it, separate from this photo.
So as long as there's people, a good amount of people that all agree to have seen it, we're going to say it's not debunked.
Well, yeah. It's
I'm with you.
It's a matter of I guess your opinion at this point based on the information, but I don't know as much about that one as I haven't heard as much about that one as I heard about the Bigfoot thing. But
my opinion, Bigfoot, I feel, is less likely, only because again, it's above ground. So when you go below ground into the seas, there's some messed up stuff down there, especially like we're always discovering more stuff down in the ocean. The deeper we go, we still have not, we've only cracked a tiny bit of the ocean in terms of what we have discovered down there.
Literally like 5% of the ocean.
Yeah, like literally, like yeah, exactly. Because the ocean covers so much more than our land ever will. The thought process of something living in the ocean, the seas, the lakes, that is quote unquote prehistoric or something that we've never seen before makes more sense to me than something that is on land. Now, we discussed last week, like the fox bats and all that kind of stuff. That shit to me is crazy in itself. To not have ever seen or captured a Bigfoot, if they do exist in any way, shape, or form, makes no sense to me. But the Nessie, I could totally see that.
Well, yeah, I can see both, because even though it's above land or on land, some of those forests are just like, you can't imagine the density of those forests. Like you could walk for days and not come across any kind of remote human habitation or roads or anything like that. So for something to live back in that area and not be detected, it wouldn't be that difficult. People aren't looking everywhere.
I agree for small, like relatively smaller animals, not bigger. Like we're talking about in terms of a Bigfoot, you're talking about bigger than a gorilla, bigger than the biggest gorilla, tall, like side, like vertical wise.
Right.
That's where it falls short with me.
But why would it matter how tall it is if it's in an area that people aren't, like, it's within hundreds of miles of anybody who's going to set foot in the forest? Why would it being 7 foot tall matter? It could be 90 feet tall and it wouldn't matter.
7 foot tall matters because animals, no matter who they are, what they are, have a tendency to not always stay in one spot. Now, they stay in their own climate that they have to stay in. I get that. But these are supposed to be hairy, very hairy, from head to toe, kind of like gorillas, beasts that are able to travel further distances, I would imagine, with their sizes than gorillas, and at an easier and swifter pace.
But you're assuming they're nomadic.
Again, I am. But that's only because of tales that we've heard, pictures we've seen. This is what, and footprints we've seen, which speak to that. Like I've seen a lot of Bigfoot tales and documentaries that speak to that knowledge. That's what I'm going off of. So you would think that wherever they are, they're traveling, whether or not in quote herds or by themselves, in a manner that would have revealed themselves by now. Well,
maybe.
That's again, maybe.
And maybe you're not looking at this properly, and a lot of people aren't. Maybe they aren't flesh and blood. Maybe they are interdimensional.
See, Rick, you always take it that next level, that next step.
Saying.
And I'm with you. I'm you.
Just saying. It's and I bring that up. I bring that up. I segue that into what I want to talk about for a few minutes before we get into the main topic here.
God.
I put a post up today, or I shared a post on Twitter. A few times in the past, we've talked about these missing 411 cases, which are these missing person cases where people, a lot of times they're kids, sometimes they're adults, that they just literally disappear off the face of the earth. They just don't have any trace of where these people are. It's almost like they just stepped out of the world because it happens so fast and so completely. And in a lot of cases, it's kids that, if they're found literally like miles away a day or two later, and they're like 3 years old. So how in the hell did a 3-year-old travel miles in rough wooded terrain? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those kind of things. So today there was a story that was posted on Twitter by Dave Politis, who wrote these 411 books. And it was a story about a little boy up in Canada on Wednesday, I believe this said. I'm not going to read this entire story, but basically the gist of the story is a 3-year-old boy up in Nova Scotia was out in front of his grandmother's house the house is probably, I think they said it somewhere in the story, it was a few hundred yards from a river. So a few hundred yards. So call it 4 or 5 football fields.
Right.
From a river. The grandmother turned around to pay attention to the dog in the yard, which was doing something. She chained the dog up or something like that. But she said it was only for a few seconds. Turned back around, and this kid was gone. Absolutely gone. So they call in the search. They searched all day and night Wednesday into this morning, and they didn't find sign of the kid, but they did eventually find his little rubber boots, his galoshes, in the river downstream. Now, very easy to say, well, I guess he ran off and fell and drowned in the river. But first off, if you look at these cases, very, very often, the shoes being off the body is a recurring theme. For some reason, for whatever reason, when these people are found, they're found with articles of clothing off or turned backwards. And a lot of times the shoes are what's missing or what's found, the only thing that's found. And again, this kid being 3 years old and being literally hundreds of yards away from the river, if his grandmother turned around for a few seconds, this kid wouldn't have run 400 yards in a few seconds. Right. Like he was 3. You know? So they still to this day haven't found this kid. Well, to this day, it was 2 days ago, but they still haven't found this kid as far as I know. And Dave Paulides is kind of chiming in on this, saying, yeah, this is a very, very typical 411 case that he writes about. There was even a dog involved, and a lot of times they said there are dogs, for whatever reason, there are dogs involved. I watched on Amazon Prime, he has a couple of documentaries on a couple different cases of these. And on the one, he talks about, I think it's hikers or hunters. I think it's hunters. And on this documentary, he lists these 12 bullet points. And these are the 12 recurring themes of these cases. They're almost always by a river. They're almost always around 4 to 5 o'clock at night. The clothing thing, there's clothing often missing. Dogs are often involved. Kids will like wander off with their dog and be gone, and they'll find the dog but not the kid. Things like that. Jesus. So it's like of all the things we've talked about on this show over the years, this is literally the most terrifying thing to me. Now, like we've talked about a billion different things, but this is like real life shit where people were just like stepping out of the world.
Right.
And it's terrifying.
Here's my question. Now, do they ever find these people? Because the story you're telling me reminds me a lot of certain things that used to be put on that old TV show, Unsolved Mysteries. Yeah. Do the people ever appear?
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't.
Now, when the people appear, do they know what had happened? Because in Unsolved Mysteries, they used to have this thing, and I remember I was watching yesterday, where it was like a guy or a girl on the side of the road. They use a payphone to call somebody to come pick them up. The person says, okay, I'm going to come pick you up. They wait for like 5-10 minutes. Then they call the person back again. Where are you at? I thought you were coming to get me. And the person says, I was there 5 hours ago. You weren't there. And the person says, I've been here, but I've only been here for like 10 minutes. What are you talking about? Mm-hmm. It was like a whole thing. Like, right. What happened to this person? Right. They said they were there for only 10-20 minutes, but it like 7, 8, 10, 24 hours have passed.
Right. Yeah, that's it. The time slip thing isn't something that's necessarily worked into these type stories, but I have heard those type stories before, and it is similar.
Okay.
Similar type of thing. But yeah, sometimes they're found. And a lot of times the ones that are found are children, and they're young children, so they really can't talk. There was a talk about it. There was a case 2 or 3 years ago that got a lot of news coverage in, I think it was North Carolina. Remember the little 2 or 3 year old kid that got lost overnight in like 20-degree weather, and they found him. He was perfectly unharmed. He wasn't even wet. And he said that a bear helped him all night. A bear took care of him. So people were like, what bear? I mean, it was hibernation season.
Right.
So any bears that are out in hibernation season are going to be starving. That kid would be an appetizer. So a bear is not going to help the kid. So what is he talking about? He's talking about an actual bear? Is he talking about a Bigfoot creature? Is he talking about a hairy person? Is he talking like who?
It was me. I hadn't shaved for a while, Rick, and I appreciate you. I was in quarantine. Nobody was here to shave my back. I hate you.
I know. So those are just, a couple of examples, but these stories are, every day. If you get like Dave Politis has written, I think it's 11 or 12 books now. He breaks it up into regions. He does East Coast, West Coast, Canada. He did one on hunters. He did one on what the hell was it now? I forget what. There's a bunch of them. I can't remember all the different topics, but there's like a million stories, and these are all these stories where they're just. And he says he doesn't go after the ones that are typical. He doesn't go after the ones that could easily be dismissed.
Right.
He goes after the ones that are just like, there's no explanation. There's no logical explanation for. And even cutting out the ones that are just could be dismissed, he still has 12 books worth of material to write about. So that gives you an idea how often this is happening. So it's crazy.
That kind of stuff freaks my mental state out a little bit more than stuff like Loch Ness Monster or Bigfoot. But that kind of stuff is weird.
Because it's happening and nobody knows what the hell is going on.
That's the weird, like when people label stuff like this is what's happening. I don't know. It kind of makes me go, I don't know. But when you're like, okay, nobody knows. Nobody's even taking a shot at what's going on here.
Yeah.
That's, I think, scarier.
Well,
the unknown.
And I've heard this theory, and you talk about our pot talk, so you might want to light up for this one.
All right, let me get my doobie.
So what I've heard as just a hypothetical, but it's an interesting idea.
Right.
Because oftentimes you'll hear these stories about people who have time slips, kind of like you were just talking about. But time slips.
Time slip for me is I get too drunk off whiskey and I don't remember anything. And then the next day somebody calls me up and goes, did you see Facebook? And I don't want to log on.
Yeah. No, not that kind of time slip.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm talking about a time slip like where you'll be driving down a road and you stop at a bar, have a drink, come back the other way the following day and the bar is not there anymore. Or you suddenly find yourself walking down the street and you look around and you see cars look like they're from the 1950s. For 20 or 30 seconds.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden you kind of shake your head and look around again and it's back to normal again. Those kind of time slips, that's what people have talked about. So if we go on the basis that type of thing happens, that you can somehow, some way slide back and forth through time, what if these people they have no idea that this has happened? It may have happened to you. It may have happened to me. And what I mean by that is you go on and you live your life and you're just living moment to moment in your life. But have you ever had something that happened in your life where you kind of like one day or one moment or a certain time, everything seems to kind of shift and change a little bit? You know what I'm talking about? Everybody has those moments.
I'm with you. I mean, we all have moments like that. We all have deja vu moments. We all have kind of weird moments where like, what's going on?
Right.
We all have that. Yeah.
So if we're living a life A, let's say, scenario A is life A, and you're walking through the woods and you step through one of these portals, time slip things, whatever you want to call them, you don't know a thing. You're just walking on. But you've walked into version B of your life, which may be almost identical to version A with a few minor variations, and maybe it's a little better, maybe it's a little worse.
All right,
but
this is a little creepy.
But you don't know. Meanwhile, back in scenario A, you've disappeared off the face of the earth.
Right.
And people are looking for you, and they have no idea where you are. You have no idea that this has even happened. You just go on with your life. Told you should have lit up.
I'm gonna just go do some shots and we'll just keep going with this. Next thing you know, Mike is passed out and you just say he slipped into another dimension. But no, I'm totally with you. And we all have those moments. The upside down.
The upside down, yeah, it's kind of like that.
And
Stranger Things.
I've had those moments. I mean, we all have. And it's weird, and I truthfully believe that our mind going into the unconscious state. We talked about dreams before.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a weird ass dream recently.
Aliens?
No, it was my dad again, and it was my dad, but it was Howard Stern. Howard Stern, who was like wearing my dad as a suit.
Really?
So it was my dad, who's been passed away for many years now. But I was like, Dad, and he was like, no, I'm Howard Stern. I just look like your dad. I was like, what the fuck? And we were living in an apartment together.
That's great.
And somebody else was there, and I forget who it was. But I was like, you're Howard Stern. I love you, but you look like my dad. It was really weird.
It's kind of like Buffalo Bill.
But so, like, to me, these kind of like your brain being turned off to sleep slips you into weirder dimensions and weirder things than your conscious brain could ever do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But even though with a conscious brain, I have had some of the things you're talking about, which is really fucking weird. And that freaks me out more than anything, is to think of alternate dimensions, alternate timelines, alternate this, because I can wrap my brain around it, but at the same time cannot.
Right. Well, people don't want to believe it. I mean, and I don't know that it's real. It's, but what I will say is that science is slowly proving that there are multiple dimensions.
Oh yeah, it's
now whether we can jump between them, that's another question.
That's entirely another question. But we're talking about like with wormholes and all this other stuff and black holes and yeah.
So they're there. Whether we can jump through them, who knows? Whether it's happening to us without our knowledge, who knows?
Who knows? It's weird ass shit.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we take our first break here? And I know Genevieve's probably home now, waiting to chime in.
She was in the waiting room for a second. I was going to wait for a moment, but she went away she might be being attacked by her Mogwai right now, but she's no longer there.
Walking the Mogwai.
Uh-huh.
All right. So we'll take a break here and we'll come back in a few minutes and we'll have Jen on and we'll start talking about our theme of the night, which is Star Wars theme and whether the Force in Star Wars is an actual thing or not.
So yeah, we'll be right back.
Okay, we all know shit's getting pretty weird recently.
Real Wrath of God type stuff. Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling.
40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes.
The dead rising from the grave. Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
Well, maybe not all that bad, but people are stuck at home, we're disinfecting everything in sight, and there's no damn toilet paper.
None of this makes sense.
But here's one thing you can count on. Toxic Radio will be here, rocking on with great music and as many of your favorite shows as possible, like the Heavy Metal Happy Hour and Supreme's Funky Contradiction. And of course, nothing can stop the Hair Metal Weekends. So keep it right here with Toxic Radio, and we'll see you through to the other side of this mess. In the meantime, this is the whole crew at Toxic Radio saying, stay safe, stay healthy, and keep rocking. This is one time it's okay to play it safe, but never with your music. Always play your music toxic.
Hey rockers, it's time to start thinking about the upcoming summer concert season. Are your teeth white and your skin tanned? Probably not. Head over to Nail and Skin Envy on Facebook and send a message to Anne Marie. You can look picture perfect and save $5 when you buy the whitening paste and sunless tanner. That's Nail and Skin Envy on Facebook to get your summer glisten and glow on.
Okay, we all know shit's getting pretty weird recently.
Real Wrath of God type stuff. Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling.
40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes.
The dead rising from the grave. Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
Well, maybe not all that bad, but people are stuck at home, we're disinfecting everything in sight, and there's no damn toilet paper.
None of this makes sense.
But here's one thing you can count on. Toxic Radio will be here, rocking on with great music and as many of your favorite shows as possible, like the Heavy Metal Happy Hour and Supreme's Funky Contradiction. And of course, nothing can stop the Hair Metal Weekends. So keep it right here with Toxic Radio, and we'll see you through to the other side of this mess. In the meantime, this is the whole crew at Toxic Radio saying, stay safe, stay healthy, and keep rocking. This is one time it's okay to play it safe, but never with your music. Always play your music toxic.
Enjoying all that Toxic Radio has to offer? Well, make sure you like and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Be the first to find out about ticket giveaways, amazing guests, awesome contests, and Toxic Radio events. Just search Toxic Radio Live, all one word, and press that little button. Every time you do, someone here at Toxic Radio will get their wings. Yay! Well, not really.
Oh.
But we will get a warm, fuzzy feeling in our tummies. But then again, that just might be the beer. Anyway, like and follow us, and we will see you out there on the interwebs.
All right. We are back here on Paradelphia. And is Jen did not answer the call?
She is right there. She
is. All right.
Wait, she's muted herself.
She's muted.
Just when you thought.
Just when you thought. Is that a gun?
I was whining people.
What is
whining people?
Okay. Yes. So there's this thing in Salem County, the real South Jersey, that you basically join this group on Facebook and people put like their addresses and you go and it's called Sisterhood of the Traveling Wine or something like that. And you basically go drop off alcohol to their step. I have gotten 3 bottles of wine so far for free. And I just took 3 bottles to some random people's houses. So it was great.
So why don't you just buy your own wine?
Because it's fun. Like, it's the thought. Because, like, then with your wine, like, people will leave you cute little notes and things.
Like I spit in your wine?
No, it ain't an open container.
Laura says the wine fairy doesn't love me.
Oh,
yeah.
Laura, send me your address, dude. I'm down for a drive.
We don't have a wine fairy up here.
Is there a whiskey fairy? Because I'm down with that.
Yes, there's a guys group in Salem County. It's called something else where they send each other like hard liquor or beer.
I'll take
the Brotherhood of the Traveling Whiskey.
Yeah.
Of bad decisions.
Bad decisions.
Is that a Guns N' Roses shirt Jenna is wearing?
It is.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
You even know who they are?
I know who they are. Bed of Roses is like my bop.
Bed of Roses. That was
bop.
Bon Jovi.
Bop, bop, bop.
Seriously?
She said it's her bop.
It's her bop. She can't even name a song.
No, they sing, oh my gosh, that song.
Jen has been drinking a lot of wine.
Hold on, I'm gonna think of that song and I'll let y'all know.
Yeah, let us know. All right, in the meantime, while Jen's thinking.
Well, it'll take a little bit.
While she's thinking. So let's get to the topic at hand here. So as I mentioned at the top of the show, we're going to talk a little bit tonight about what's being called in the Star Wars movies, the Force. All right. And everybody kind of, when that movie came out, 40 whatever years ago now.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Great.
Just kind of took that as a fictional plot device to move that story along. All right, and it was a cool thing. It was something that was unique to that movie and to that genre of movies that wasn't really seen before. It was very metaphysical. Yeah, there you go. May the fourth be with you. And it was something that was just kind of not really thought about, other than just being part of that whole. I guess you could say it a dogma or whatever. I'm not sure what the word is, but the idea behind the phenomenon of the movies. But over the years, it's kind of been looked at a little more scientifically. And there's been some question thrown out there as to whether or not George Lucas was actually onto something when he created this or wrote this.
Right.
So if you look at the Wikipedia definition of this, it what it says is that the Force is a metaphysical and ubiquitous power in the Star Wars movies. It's wielded by Force-sensitive characters throughout the franchise. Heroes like the Jedi who become one with the Force, while the Sith and other villains exploit the Force to bend it to their will. The Force has been compared to several aspects of different world religions. And of course, the phrase "May the Force be with you" has become very popular, prevalent in pop culture. May the Fourth. So when he created this movie, when as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, when George Lucas was writing Star Wars back in the mid-'70s, he was living out in San Francisco. And that was an area of the country that was very much into the hippie movement. Haight-Ashbury and all that stuff was very much still in play out there. And so when he wrote the idea of the Force, it wasn't such a strange idea to him or to the people, I guess, that he was living around at the time. But to the rest of the world, it was pretty much a new age idea that was not really considered.
Is he giving the finger? Sorry.
Who? Who are you
Are
talking
you
about?
serious, Jenna?
Yoda was giving the finger.
Oh,
He's using the Force. That's why I brought it up. He's using the
the
Force.
Yeah, he's using the Force to F you off.
What the fuck? What the hell just happened?
This is Jen drunk.
He's using the Force to F you off.
So anyway, he created.
I'm sorry. I was bringing that up for the Force. I didn't know it was going to go there. I'm sorry.
I know. He
It
created
can
this
go
basically
anywhere.
as another version of what the Chinese will call the Qi or Qi. Basically, a mystical life force that you have all around you.
Right.
If you ever go for acupuncture, it's the basis of acupuncture. You are energy. You have energy in your body, and the pins they put in your body redirect the energy to where you need healing.
Right.
So, everything, and science has shown us everything is energy. No matter what it is, it's basically you are boiled down to atoms and electrons and energy. So it's not
Fred
such a
has
far-flung idea when you think about the concept of your thoughts being just another form of energy.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that.
So with regard to this idea, a lot of people in the world kind of looked at this like it was an affront to religion, because he was kind of taking
Really?
and George Lucas actually admitted to this. He said he wanted to put an aspect of religion in the movies without God. So he wanted to have the idea behind religion without actually naming a particular religion.
Really? He made that? I never heard that. I'm very
Yeah.
surprised.
So and which he did. It was very successful, because if you think about it, what the Force entails is basically, if you look at any kind of religion, it's prayer, it's belief, it's you name it, whatever religion you're talking about, there's an aspect of this in it.
Ew, he's ugly.
But he kind of just took the Godhead out of whatever religion you want to throw in there,
Right.
and left all the I guess what am I trying to say here? Left everything else. He left the physical
Right.
effects of what you can do.
The thought of it, which
Right.
is, if
You
you
put it
think
in your
about the
hands.
Force,
Yeah.
the Force is like everything around. If you've ever seen a Star Wars movie, the Force is everything around you. It's a part of you. It's outside of you. It's always there. It's whether or
Right.
not you could channel the Force.
Yes.
So, with that being said, it's kind of like any kind of religious, whatever way you want to look at it, always being there. And if you could channel it correctly, it helps you to achieve greatness. So I could I've never thought about it in that retrospect, in that way of thinking, because I've never seen an interview with George Lucas that said this, which is kind of surprising to me, because I'm all about Star Wars. I used to have 2 giant lightsabers on my wall, which I sold for rent one time because I was in my mid-20s, and that's what you did. But to think about it in that way does make kind of sense. I could see where he kind of went and wiggled around that way of thinking.
Right.
I don't like it. obviously, because I don't like to. I wouldn't want to watch a Star Wars movie. I mean, we already have movies where, like something like The Matrix, where it became very Bible oriented, very religious oriented. I kind of don't want to have a religious thought process when you're entering into a world of that magnitude kind of thing where that doesn't exist. So I totally hear what you're saying. I don't like it, but I totally hear where you're coming from with that.
So there's a quote here from George Lucas that was taken down during a production meeting for Empire Strikes Back. And he speaks to all this. He said, this is his quote now. He says, the act of living generates a force field and energy. That energy surrounds us. When we die, that energy joins with all the other energy. There is a giant mass of energy in the universe that has a good side and a bad side.
Right.
We are part of the force because we generate the power that makes the force live. When we die, we become part of that force. So we never really die. We continue as part of the force. And you see this in the movies because if you think back to the movies, when characters like Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke Skywalker, these characters die in the movie, they're not really gone because they'll come back in the form of a holographic image or a voice leading and directing the living characters in the movie. And that's kind of what he's talking about here is when you die, you don't really go away. And again, this is something we've talked about many different times. And we talked about it 2 weeks ago when Gene was here doing the readings.
Right.
Where you have your what does she call them here? Angel, blanking on here. Spirit guides.
Spirit guides.
Your spirit guides that are basically in your ear and giving you direction, which comes through to you as your mental thoughts and your intuition. But it's according to what Gene's saying and a lot of other people who have psychic and medium abilities, that is your spirit guides. That is your deceased, grandfather or your deceased grandmother or your deceased dad or whoever it might be helping you and directing you in the right direction. And that's really all this is. You see the same thing in Star Wars movies. It's just made more science fiction-ish in the Star Wars movies, but essentially it's the same thing.
Right. Now, here's my question to you.
Yeah.
You've seen Star Wars movies, have you? Are you a Star Wars fan?
I am. I'm not one of those. I have friends that are crazy fans that are going to.
Oh yeah, well you got Trekkies, you've got Star Wars people.
Yeah, but I enjoy the movies. I'm a fan of the movies. Yeah,
I'm the same way. I enjoy the movies. I'm not a fanatic. I can't quote everything. Right. I like them enough that I play Star Wars games. That I'll buy a lightsaber. But I mean, I like them that much, but I don't know everything, and I don't go crazy with it. But I have had those moments where I thought I had the Force.
Okay. Please, yeah.
I'm curious too.
So I've had those moments, and again, we're going back into Mike's dream world. Jesus Christ! If only there. Oh, it is, and it really is. I've had those moments where Dream Mike and Dream World for me, my dreams are so lucid sometimes, so real. So like I could reach out and touch everything in my dream. And I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but I've had dreams where I've had the Force, where I can literally move stuff with my mind. And
I've had them before too.
Yeah. But I've gone so far as to when I've woken up from that dream, it's been so real that I have looked at something in my room, reached my hand out, and tried.
He's trying to butter his toast with just his mind.
What just happened in my dream? And there is a moment where I think it's going to happen.
Right. And
Laura just asked, was I drunk? No, these are not drunk endeavors. These are completely sober. Where I think I could do it. And I actually have a moment where I strain and then I come back to reality and go, what the fuck are you doing? Knock that off.
I've had dreams where in my dream, I thought I was a witch, where I'm like, I say a spell and make things rise up. And when I've woken up, I literally will look at even my dog and halfway awake, I'll look at my dog and be like,
You're-
levitate.
I thought you were gonna look at him and go, "You're a
Levitate?
gremlin."
You try to levitate your dog?
Yeah.
Does it ever work?
Well, obviously not.
You know,
Not obviously. How great would that be if you were like, "It happened. Watch this."
Yeah, I would for
look
sure
in the background. The dog's floating in the background.
I would for sure be on Facebook Live. They're like, guys, look what I did.
Look at what I can do.
Yeah,
Anyway.
look what I can do.
You're like, there's brooms. Remember the people were standing the brooms up a couple months ago?
So-
yeah.
Yes, and I did that twice. Once at home and once at work. I don't want to talk about it. Light as a feather, stiff as a board.
Yes, that's
so-
my movie.
But as far as like the Force and everything, like I there are YouTube videos out there where you can like go and watch where people have tried to recreate the lightsabers and recreate all this stuff that's from the movie, but you can't because, like you said, it's energy. It's these energy forces that create the lightsaber. It's these energy forces that create the ability to do this stuff. And at least as of now, within our society, within our universe, right now, that is not possible.
Well, the interesting thing, it's energy, but if you think back to the movie back in the late 90s, The Phantom Menace.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about Spaceballs.
No, not Spaceballs.
Oh, sorry.
The Phantom Menace introduced the idea of these microscopic creatures called the midichlorians that connect the characters to the Force. You remember this?
No.
And I'll read this. This is a
like I said, I'm a fan of the movies, but not that much of a fan.
This is a passage from the Wiki article. It says now they're referring to mitochondria, which is something that we have in us.
Okay.
Which is very similar to these midichlorians in the movie. It says mitochondria probably had something to do with the beginnings of life and how one cell decided to become two cells with a little help from this other little creature who came in without whom it couldn't exist. And it's really a way of saying we have hundreds of little creatures who live on us, and without them, we would all die. There wouldn't be any life. They are necessary for us. We are necessary for them. And this is basically the same idea that was introduced in the movie in The Phantom Menace with these microscopic creatures that were living on the bodies of the Force susceptible characters, and they basically were the driving force, so to speak, behind the energy that would become the Force in the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. I've okay, and apparently Laura knows about this stuff, and I'm trying to Google it, and I did, so I'm gonna leave hers up there for a second while I copy it.
Why is Laura so much cooler than you, Mike?
That is a question that has plagued man for many, many years.
That'll be next week's show.
And I would like to debunk that thought process. I am way cooler. Have you not seen that I have a VR headset?
I thought you said she does too.
Okay, we're not going to bring that up. What is wrong with you? Wow. Why are you not on my side?
She got it on the yard sale website.
Why are you not on my side? Why are you so against me right now?
Because I'm mad at both of you. No, I'm just kidding.
It's because of the beach thing. I got you. Yeah. Anyway, so let's go back to midichlorians are for the Jedis, but we have similar things. I would love for one day for us to find out we could do some of this shit because of what's inside of our bodies.
Well, and some people are very aware of it, and some people aren't, which is also part of the movie. If you think back, and Lucas is talking here about how he's comparing the Force to yoga and saying that any character can, in the movie, and any person in real life can do yoga. Any character in the movie can use the Force. Some characters there are Force intuitive, like Luke Skywalker. He knew he was, or he had the Force and he could use it. But there were other characters, like the Han Solo character, that did use the Force occasionally, but it was sort of unconsciously using it, and he really didn't believe that he was able to do it. So therefore, he didn't often do it. And it's a lot about belief in yourself and about belief in the ability to use the Force, which is, if you go back to the original Star Wars, well, actually it was Empire Strikes Back when Skywalker's with Yoda in the cave. That's what that whole scene is about. Yoda is trying to teach him that you've got to believe that you can do it in order for you to do it. If you don't truly believe it, you won't be able to do it.
I might start watching Star Wars. This is pretty solid facts right here.
Please do me a favor. Watch Spaceballs first. Anyway, I have to put these images out there. Please, Spaceballs is such a great movie. But it's kind of the same thing. It's just with wiener. Just with wieners.
I love wieners.
I didn't know that was going to happen, Rick. I didn't know that was going to happen.
She's drunk and she's got her dog. Anything can happen.
She loves wieners. Anyway, so do you think that this whole Force thing, I forget what movie I was watching recently, but they discussed this. I totally forgot about this because you don't hear about it anymore. But that whole thought process, like a mother or a father, their kid is trapped underneath a car or trapped in a well, and there's some unmovable object that a human being shouldn't be able to move, but they're able to move because that adrenaline goes through them.
Yeah.
And that almost sounds like the Force in terms of channeling every bit of your force, your energy, into being able to lift a car, move an unmovable object because somebody is in dire need of it.
Yeah, you're not moving it from a distance. You're not putting your hand out and having the thing float in the air, but you are physically moving something that you have no right and normally no ability to be able to move.
Once that moment ends, once everybody is safe, you go over and try to move that again. There's no possible way you're going to be able to do it.
Right. Yeah. And people go ahead.
Good. No, go ahead.
I was saying people write that off to adrenaline, which I'm sure is true. That plays a part in it. But I don't know there isn't something more than just adrenaline.
But who can say that adrenaline, as we know it, adrenaline isn't a part of that ability to do that? If you're able to control adrenaline in some sort of way or some sort of different manner, could it possibly be the factor that enables this? Like, you know what I mean? We look at adrenaline in a certain manner. Maybe look at it in a different way. I'm just trying to think outside the box in terms of ways that we've seen human beings do extraordinary things that we explain in a certain manner, but could possibly be this whole Force thing.
Yeah, it could be. And there's comparisons of the Force again or not comparisons of it. There are, I guess, examples of the same type of thing in various science fiction and fantasy films and TV shows and things like that.
Right.
And it will sometimes be called magic. It won't be called the Force. It'll be called magic. You can name it whatever you want. The depiction of the Force in Star Wars, for example, has been compared to the magic in Harry Potter.
Love Harry Potter.
Because Harry Potter has his wand. He makes things move. I really set that up, didn't I?
Sorry, everybody listening.
You walked into that, Rick.
She loves wieners. She loves wieners.
Just set that right up.
You didn't walk backwards.
You get the idea what I'm. You get the idea what I'm saying though. Is instead of using your hand and shaking your hand at the thing and making it move, he's using a pointer or a wand. But it's the same thing. It's magic.
Yeah.
People listening to the podcast version can't see that Jenna just made a face when you said he's using his wand. That's drunk. Harry Potter. That is an American staple. People love him.
He was like
an
10.
American staple. It was in Britain, British.
Right, but Americans embraced him.
Of course.
I've never ever seen one of those movies. No, I'm sorry. I saw one movie. It was like the fourth or fifth movie.
I might have to put you in the waiting room of your own show. Because if you have not seen the Harry Potter films.
Listen, Karen and I have tried 2 or 3 times. Because I hear people
it's not like a sexual position that you guys tried 2 or 3 times and said, no, this is Harry Potter.
But what happens is, invariably, we'll turn the movie on and get through the first 15 minutes and fall asleep.
Harry.
Well, don't watch it at bedtime.
Yeah, you gotta watch. You gotta watch Hermione.
That's
It my best Harry
bores
Potter.
the shit out of me.
How does Harry Potter
like,
bore the shit out of you?
Yeah,
you un-American.
It just I can't do it. I haven't read the books. I saw one of the movies. I went to one of the movies. I think it was the Phoenix Order of the Phoenix or whatever the hell it was called.
Well, that's the problem.
I think I saw that one in like 2004 or 5-ish, something like that. But I didn't. It wasn't me that wanted to go to that one, and I just said, "All right, whatever." And I went and saw it, and it was all right. Like it was,
Look at Harry.
Look at how happy Harry is. Rick.
Look at Hermione. Hermione should have been with Harry, but this douchebag over here was with her.
It's them freaking redheads.
The freaking redheads.
Maybe he had a bigger one.
Oh.
Is
that how guys with bigger wands sound? I had a crush on Hermione for the longest friggin' time, and still do to this day.
Yeah, see, that was the other thing too. That it was a kids thing when I was an adult, so I didn't get into it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when that all came out, I was probably 30 years old or something. Like it wasn't my thing.
That's all right.
When it came out, I was in 4th grade. We went and watched it at the movie theater on a Saturday, my whole class, and I spilled my popcorn, I remember.
Wow.
But Harry Potter definitely falls. I'm trying to go past that. Harry Potter definitely falls into this. Wow. I'm going to put that up on the screen real fast.
Gingers have no souls.
That's interesting. One of your best friends is a ginger.
That's why I can agree with that and not be insulting. I was with her today.
That's why I can agree. And that's why it's a thing.
Yeah. Gingers have no souls. Wow.
I don't know if that's been scientifically proven, but yeah. So Harry Potter, definitely something Rick should see. If everybody agrees, please tweet at him. What is your Twitter, Rick?
At Paradelphia.
At Paradelphia.
So yeah, I will try once again for the 4th time to watch this movie.
Yes,
this is his first. There's like 12 movies. I haven't even seen the first one yet.
Listen, I will say the first one is the worst one.
Yeah, I bet you it is.
It was good enough to get people involved in the next few.
No. But it gradually gets better.
It gradually gets better. The first one, it's good enough that it grabbed people. That's what it was.
Yeah.
It gets better after that. But Rick is in quarantine. And actually, before you got on, Jenna, we were discussing how we need to bring back Jenna's Bees or whatever it was called, where you were doing movie reviews.
Yeah.
Because you still have Tromeo and Juliet.
I do. It's actually right on my TV. I was looking at it today.
Right. So maybe we need to do Jenna's Bees, but we also need to do Rick Pruitt.
Watches Harry Potter.
A weekly check-in, not a review, just a check-in for how far he's gotten and what he thinks. It could be very short. It doesn't have to be long.
Like 15 minutes a week.
Not even that. It could be like 5.
15.
It could be like 5 minutes, so it doesn't interfere with too much of the show.
No, I meant the movie.
Oh, the movie. No. You're watching a whole fucking movie a week.
Yeah, you watch 15
Knock
minutes
that off. You're watching a whole movie. You're in quarantine. Shut up. You have no reason not to.
Yeah. All right, I'll give it a shot.
There
what the hell?
And Laura, who's hanging in with us, and she's our resident Harry Potter aficionado, says that the first was definitely the weakest link.
It was. They were immature, definitely.
All right.
They were young.
And we'll have Jenna watch baseball.
They didn't know how to use their wands yet. Wow, what is that?
That's her husband knows what that sound is. That's all I've got to say. He definitely knows what that sound is.
We'll bring him out and ask him.
What does this mean? All of a sudden you see his pants drop. I know what this means.
Yo!
She has to turn off the camera. We just hear the audio.
Turn it to the
You hear Jenna yelling pew 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 pew.
Pew, pew. Yo, I love it. I love the sex talk.
Wow. All right.
That's where hot tea with Jenna B comes in.
I don't know how to recover from that. All right. So anyway, let's take our next break here, and we'll start wrapping things up.
All right.
All right. We're back in a few.
Oh wait, I'm not ready, Rick.
Well, all
He
right,
wasn't ready.
We're gonna
Say it
hang for
again.
a few.
Say it again.
Now we'll be back in a few.
Like listening to Toxic Radio?
Goddamn right.
But don't forget, this is the 21st century. Join us in the social media world. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pornhub.
Pornhub?
Nah, just kidding. Or am I? Toxic Radio. Get infected.
Master, dinner is served.
Igor, it's not that I don't appreciate the effort, but you know I prefer my meals uncooked. And how many times have I told you about using garlic?
Yes, Master. Forgive me, Master. Please.
Bite into Paradelphia. Thursday nights at 8, only on Toxic Radio.
Paradelphia. Because what if it's all true?
Planning your Saturday night can be a bit of a bitch. How about we make rock, not war? Load up Toxic Radio every Saturday night for the heavy metal happy hour with the one and only Fishman.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
There will be interviews, ticket giveaways, a little bit of banter with Toxic Mike, and of course great metal from the 80s all the way through today. Starts at 7 p.m., runs until Fish says it's over.
Get out.
Catch it only on Toxic Radio. Don't play it safe. Play it toxic.
Join the online revolution now and spread the word. Toxic Radio. Don't play it safe. Play it toxic.
Okay, we all know shit's getting pretty weird recently.
Real wrath of God type stuff. Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling.
40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes, the dead rising from the grave.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
Well, maybe not all that bad, but people are stuck at home, we're disinfecting everything in sight, and there's no damn toilet paper.
None of this makes sense.
But here's one thing you can count on. Toxic Radio will be here, rocking on with great music and as many of your favorite shows as possible, like the Heavy Metal Happy Hour and Supreme's Funky Contradiction. And of course, nothing can stop the Hair Metal Weekends. So keep it right here with Toxic Radio, and we'll see you through to the other side of this mess. In the meantime, this is the whole crew at Toxic Radio saying, stay safe, stay healthy, and keep rocking. This is one time it's okay to play it safe, but never with your music. Always play your music toxic.
All right, we're back here on Paradelphia on Toxic Radio. Get ready to wrap up the evening. It's been interesting. We've talked about a few different topics. We've gone from the missing 411, interdimensional thing to Bigfoot to the Star Wars Force to Jen's wand.
Jen has a wand? Wait a second. When did this happen?
Well,
Yeah,
on break.
Purple.
It's purple.
Wow. Designer.
I've heard people call it the purple microphone.
She shopped for it on Amazon last night.
You can find anything on Amazon.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Primed it overnight.
Used $4.99.
I'm sure you did prime it overnight. Primed it real good, didn't you?
I love the sax talk.
Oh my.
Do you?
Wow.
Well, I'd like to say, I don't know if anyone saw on the Paradelphia or if they follow Jumps, but this Saturday, we're doing, it is as of right now, unless Doug literally was supposed to call me and he ain't, so I don't know what's going on, but still it's happening. It's happening. This Saturday we're going to do a ghost tour of Salem County. virtual ghost tour. So it'll be streaming, and I'll share it on Paradelphia. It'll be streaming on Jersey Unique Minds Paranormal Society's page. But like I said, I'll share it on Paradelphia. Even if you're not from Salem County, like, it's really interesting. And I think if it goes well and people respond to it well, we'll go into Gloucester County.
So how exactly is this working? Is somebody going on site with a streaming camera?
Yes.
Okay.
It's going to be just me and Doug. I'm going to give like the history aspect of where we're going to be. And then Doug's going to give like the ghost aspect and the hauntings and things like that. So we're going to be social distancing. We'll be wearing our masks. It's going to start at 5:30. So we don't, I'm going to punch Mike in the butthole.
Wow.
That's a third date thing.
So it's all going to be legal. Everywhere we're going is public property and all of that good stuff. So it's gonna be a fun time.
No B&E.
Do one thing illegal.
No B&Es. No
B&Es.
illegal things. I don't want Phil to find out because, God forbid.
Yeah, Laura's asking if we're on curfew. Are we on curfew?
I don't even know. I think
nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
He's saying stay at home order, but he's opening boardwalks and beaches. So
right. They don't know what the hell they're doing.
Like, stay at home. By the way, parks, all these other places are open. Stay at home.
Stay at home.
But hey, look, funnel cake.
Stay at home unless you're going to spend money. Then you can go out.
Well, mark my words. He's prepping for the week but everything will be open. AC will be open by June 15th. We've had this discussion.
Just remember the movie Jaws.
Yep.
These beaches will be open.
Lining up to be a hot lunch. People are lining up to be a hot lunch.
Probably.
Good luck with that.
Yes, good luck indeed.
Good luck. Godspeed.
Aww.
All right, still going to wrap things up for the evening, but it's been interesting. It's been fun.
Yes.
We'll come back next week with an all new topic, which I have no idea. I just came up with this one 3 hours ago. So
he did. You guys don't know. I got the text message. I have no idea.
I was doing yard work all week. I've been busy.
He's been planting seeds,
tulips, digging out stumps of bushes.
Digging out stumps. He's been playing with his bush.
Trimming the bush.
Oh my. All right, this is devolving way too far here.
Is it far enough though?
It's never far enough.
Wait.
The sex.
What? Did you say butt sex?
What?
Real fast. So Jenna, I don't know why, but the angle that her camera's at and where she's sitting, if it wasn't for the fan in the background on her video, I would swear she was on some like rock star's tour bus.
It does look like a tour bus, yeah.
Right, doesn't it? Like where the window's at and the couch.
Right.
I would swear she's on a tour bus. I would say it was probably with Post Malone.
No, Guns N' Roses. I remembered.
You're not getting on Guns N' Roses tour bus.
Take me down to the Paradise City where the grass is green and the girls are pretty.
The grass is green means you're going to smoke weed with the girls, by the way.
Yeah.
What?
You didn't live in the 80s.
I didn't know that.
You're gonna smoke weed and you're gonna have sex with the ladies.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
I had no idea. Now I gotta stop singing it.
No, keep singing it. The people love it. It's erotic.
Just never tell her the meaning of the words.
Right.
What's sweet child of mine mean?
Oh, you don't want to know.
Yeah, you don't want to know.
Keep that in your sweet, sweet, innocent mind.
It involves butt stuff.
And Laura says, "I'll do it." I don't know what that means.
Wow,
I know there's a delay, so I don't think she meant what you just said.
Congratulations to Mike, then.
It came up at just the right point.
Yo, crack it up.
All right, I think that's enough for one night.
There you go.
Wrap things up here. So once again, for Mike, for Jenna B, I'm Rick. We are Paradelphia, and thank God we're out of here.
Later.